Hi team, it's Julian Dougharty here, founder of DFS Marketing. On today's Founders 5, I'm going to speak with you about some of the reasons why people hate buying long-term care insurance. How many times have you sat with a client and talked with them about a comprehensive long-term care policy when in fact the customers look back at you and said, how much are the premiums that I have to pay each month? I'm going to pay into this for how many years? My whole life? And that could add up to be $200,000 or $300,000. And what if I don't have to use the policy for long-term care expenses? I have longevity in my family. My grandmother and my grandfather, they lived to 100 years old, and when they passed away, they died in the comfort and convenience of their own home. They never needed the money for, they never needed any money for long-term care, never needed money for a nursing home. And I don't feel like I'm going to need any type of long-term care policy. Well, in fact, more than 75% of all people alive today need some kind of long-term care coverage. But most people do not believe that they need long-term care. Well, in fact, the statistics show 75% of people need long-term care coverage of some kind. If it's, bathing, if it's transferring, if it's, chore services, if it's, any type of home health care or nursing home care, you're going to have some kind of policy. We're living longer nowadays, and most people do need some kind of long-term care coverage. Why not sell a customer a fixed annuity? Here's a suggestion. Why not sell a customer with a fixed annuity with a long-term care benefit rider? For example, a client puts in $100,000. There is no lab work. For example, you don't have to do blood, you don't have to meet with a nurse and some off-the-wall time. You just have to do a phone interview, and you have to do a questionnaire on the application. So a client says, okay, I'm going to put $100,000 in this policy. You're telling me that if I don't use the money for long-term care expenses, or if I don't need long-term care coverage, I'm not going to lose the money that I put in. That's correct. There's some carriers out there where you could give $100,000 to, and they'll keep the money safe. They'll put it into a 9 or 10-year fixed annuity. They'll add a rider to it that gives you 2 or 3 times the premium amount for long-term care benefits. So you put in $100,000. If your underwriting is premier, for example, that means the best, you could get up to $300,000 for long-term care expenses. The rider charge for the long-term care benefits pretty much eats up any kind of returns that you get on the fixed annuity. So for example, if it's a 3% return each year on the fixed annuity, you add the rider charges in where it's maybe 2.75%. And let's say the client over 10 years has the money there. We like to call it a return of premium product if they don't use the money for long-term care expenses. You can still do 10% penalty-free withdrawals. There's a full death benefit to beneficiaries if that client were to pass away. And it's a declining surrender charge. So if in year 6 they decide to cancel it all on you or on themselves, then they'll be hit with a declining surrender charge. I personally think it's a lot easier of a story to sit down with a customer and say, well, you've got $35,000 in this CD earning maybe 1% interest, and you plan on using that money for long-term care expenses. Why not take the $35,000, put it into a fixed annuity with a long-term care rider that'll give you, let's say, $70,000 for long-term care expenses instantaneously, and then if you don't use it for long-term care coverage or for long-term care benefits, then that $35,000 is still yours to be able to keep, to touch, and it's there if you need it for any type of emergency access. So it's a very, very tough cookie to swallow when you're talking to a customer about monthly premiums on long-term care that they may never, ever use. But it's easy to explain to a client, well, let's put in $100,000. you may not use it for long-term care expenses, but you do have 300 or 200,000 available to you in case you need coverage for long-term care benefits. I love it. It's I don't lose it if I don't use it kind of story. And if you're looking for any type of suggestions for long-term care fixed annuities or fixed annuities with long-term care riders built in, give us a call. We'd be glad to assist you on any cases. If you need an illustration or if you need a rundown on the product that I'm specifically referencing, give my sales team a call. Give us a call. We're hopefully here to help you out. Look forward to doing business with you, and thank you very much for your time. Subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest updates on the fixed index annuity world and how DFS can help you with your business.